Hey guys, my name is Ash Frost. I am the owner and sole proprietor of Seifer Stitches. I am 26 years old and have been doing Seifer Stitches for about 7 years now. I am located in St. Louis, Missouri, or the whereabouts, but you have actually probably seen me, could have seen me, at any number of Tennessee conventions, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Kansas. And that's about it. I travel all over and I'm trying to expand what conventions I go to um, because I have such a wide array of fan base that I'd like to be able to visit them and to see them because nothing makes me happier than having a fan run up to me and tell me that they really love the kiwi that they bought and that they love wearing it and that my work is incredible. Like honestly, every time somebody says that and I'm like just thinking about it, it brings me to tears because my work has impacted people so positively that they have to run up and yell this stuff at me, and it's never like, oh my god, I love your stuff. It's, oh my god, I love your stuff. Anyway, welcome to starting a business with Seifer Stitches. If I didn't give you any indicator of what I create, I make onesies of any number of fandoms, but specifically Pokemon. This is actually Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. Um, I make plushies, paintings, um, makeup bags, Ita bags, and very rarely do I offer wig commissions or cosplay commissions just because those do get difficult. And generally, my audience is anywhere from about 4 years old to about 50 or so. It just really depends on what kind of nerd you are. Uh, so I guess I can give a little bit of backstory about myself. I have been sewing since I was 6 years old, and I'll be 27 in August. I come from a long line of seamsters and seamstresses. My grandma and my aunt both are seamstresses, and they taught me as well as crochet and knitting and how to cook. So basically, I am waifu material, or husbando, I guess. It just depends on the day. Uh, I have, like I said, I've been sewing for about 10 years now. 20, over 20 years now. It's been a very long quarantine, guys. About 20 years now. And it all started with making clothes and blankets for my Barbies. And it has now gone into an international business. And I didn't actually expect it to get this big. What initially inspired me to do this was a couple of my friends had been asking for help to make costumes, and I needed more practice, so I said, hey, I'll do it for you. And they threw money at me, and originally I wanted to be a linguist. I am fluent in German and English, and am currently working in Russian. I'm not very good, but I really, really try. And so I wanted to be a linguist. I wanted to learn Japanese and Korean and be a translator and go to all these incredible countries. But instead, I get this, and it's almost as good, in my opinion. So one day I woke up and I was like, wait a second, people are paying me for this. Why? This is my career. This is what I was meant to do. And that's how a lot of things have happened in my life. I wake up one morning and I'm like, wait a second. And that's basically my life. I actually, uh, I guess I can talk about a little bit of what inspired me to make kigus. The first kigurumi I made was not Pokemon, actually. It was a Poro from Riot Games League of Legends, and it was made out of fur, and it was huge and not very good, and because I copied off of a uh, DeviantArt tutorial, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I made it, and there was fur everywhere, and it just kind of spiraled out from there. I was like, well, I had a lot of fun making this one. I should definitely make a different one. I should Pokemon, because I've been into Pokemon since it came to America, and everybody always doubts that and doubts my knowledge in Pokemon for some reason. And so the first one I made was Flygon. I made it for myself, and it was also big and ugly and not great, but I posted it to my personal Facebook page, and it like I was like, hey guys, if if you want one, I can totally make one. Just throw me some money. And people threw money at me, and I was like, okay then. And so the next one I made was Wailord, and the one after that was another Flygon and Garchomp. And I usually remember people by what Kigu they order, and that's kind of bad because I'm just terrible with names and faces. But if somebody's like, "Oh my God, you made this Kigu for me," I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember you," because I'm just that bad. But at this point, I have made over 400. I've made actually I can count it. I've made 411 out of 900 plus Pokemon, and my goal for myself this year is to make 450, and I think I can do it. And I mean, I don't think I can do it. I know I can do it. If I have to make them all myself, just sell them at cons later, whatever. Uh, anyway, I'll do a brief breakdown of what we're going to talk about today. I'm so sorry for rambling. So we're going to talk about setting goals for ourselves. We're going to talk about understanding your market, how to navigate social media. Sorry, I have to look at my little thing. How to navigate social media and follow through. So these are really important points. So for setting goals for yourself, I actually suggest getting a notebook and um, writing out short-term and long-term goals for yourself, as well as, and by short-term I mean like, what am I going to do today? I specifically write out, like, I actually have a journal that I write in, and I try to say like what I'm going to be doing that day, what I got done the day before, and trying to stay focused, especially during this quarantine, which is really difficult. Trying to stay focused and on course to get orders finished, and as well as giving time for myself. Like I said, this is a full-time job for me. I started, and I started, like I said, about 7 years ago, and at one point I had 4 jobs, including this one, to make sure that I could go through school and continue to eat. That pushed me. I definitely I hated how tired I was all the time, so I pushed and pushed as hard as I could to make sure that I could do this, so that this would be a full-time thing for me, because I was tired of being demeaned in a retail job. And I just really hope that this is really helpful for you guys, and just I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so now we're going to start talking about setting goals for ourselves. Long-term versus short-term. This is extremely important because you need to make sure that you're not trying to put goals that are meant for long-term in the short-term box. You'll definitely want to have a journal or a notebook of some kind that doesn't get lost very easily, because I'm one of those people that loses notebooks really easily, and I don't want you guys to have to go through that. So definitely making sure that you keep tabs on that notebook, writing down your goals, scratching them off as you complete them. Definitely like maintaining that ideal of writing that down and making a goal making a goal to write your goals down for this. So for my goals, like, so for my short-term goals, within the next year, by December 31st, I would like to have crossed off 450 total Pokemon cross off 450 Pokemon off of all 8 generations, like total. Like I said earlier, I have crossed off 411, which is honestly an incredible feat, and that's something that I get to brag about. Like, I don't think I have ever met anybody who has hit that number. Eventually, my long-term goal is to be able to cross off one of every Pokemon. And that includes Galar forms, Mega forms, Alolan forms, and maybe after that I'll try to hit the shiny train. I don't know. Probably by the time that I do cross off all those Pokemon, we'll probably be at like Gen 15 or something, and I honestly will probably be making Pokemon Kigus until I die. And I'm okay with that. I also have short-term goals of buying another sewing machine for myself. Right now I have one, and that's great, but I need a second one in order to keep up with the order amount that I have right now. This is good because it means that I'm busy enough that I need this, that this is a need and not just a want. So, like I said, you need to determine what is a long-term goal versus what is a short-term goal, and how to be realistic but aspiring. So whatever you decide that you want to sell, you need to make sure that you're not, like, if you're making something, say enamel pins, those are really, really popular right now. The market is super saturated. Like, I can be like, oh, hey, I want this, and 50 people come up and they're like, I have these pins. Like, oh, awesome. You need to set a goal and, oh, okay, so this year I'd like to sell at one convention. I'd like to make 50 orders. I'd like to be able to go to an out-of-state convention as a vendor. Stuff like that are pretty simple goals. They're very short-term. Definitely take into mind, especially this year, that a lot of conventions are being canceled or postponed, and so you'll have to keep that in mind when applying for their artist alley or applying for their vendor hall, because it might be postponed, it might be canceled. I already this year have had 2 conventions cancel, and for me, that sucks. But there's also resources that we can have and that we can use in order to make up for that lost revenue, especially if you're trying to make this a full-time thing. You have to make sure that you are keeping a budget and keeping, like, you can keep a budget goal and you can be like, well, I want to make $1,000 this month. I don't know what, like, specifically, I don't know what everybody is making. I don't know what everybody wants to make, but definitely having realistic goals and setting them, even just small goals for yourself. Oh, I want to hit 50 followers on my Instagram. I want to hit 100 followers on my Facebook. Let me hit 250 followers on my TikTok. These are all realistic. These are goals that can be met within a specified time. Now, if you're saying that you want to get 5,000 followers in 1 month on Instagram with 3 posts, it's not realistic. And it's something you have to be really harsh with yourself. Like, specifically for me, I try every year to make a huge post on my Facebook page January 1st. I'm like, okay, guys, let's talk about what happened last year. Let's talk about how we can improve this year. These are my goals from last year. Like, I think last year I said I wanted to hit 3,500. I think it was like 3,500. And I think I passed it. I was at like 3,750. I wanted to make 350 Pokemon, and at that point I had hit 400, or about 400, and I wanted to sell at 8 shows, something like that. I unfortunately wasn't able to sell at 8 shows. Conventions are very cutthroat when it comes to applications and making sure that your work is good. A lot of conventions do have like a no compete thing where they'll see, oh, well, specifically vendors, they'll be like, oh, well, we can't have anybody who makes Gigus, which unfortunately is a very bad thing for me. But I mean, the fact that they feel threatened by my work is, and especially with this year, I'm not gonna hit that 8 shows, but I don't think that it was on my roster this year for what I wanted to do. Definitely holding yourself accountable, but also having other people hold you accountable makes it easier to handle, especially like if you post it onto your social medias and you're like, all right, guys, I need to do this. Let's do this. Help me hit these goals. Like, I could not do this without my followers. I can't do this without my customers. I would still be working at Joann's. I would still be miserable. I would still be treated like crap. And like, I couldn't do it anymore. And having those followers believe in me and believe in my work really helped to push me and my goals to success. And hopefully you guys do that as well. Like I said, not everything is going to work the same exact way as what I am exactly saying. What works for me isn't going to necessarily work for you, especially when you're working in softline versus hardline products. Like, my Kigurumis are considered a softline product. But enamel pins and such are a hardline. They're really easy to move, usually. I haven't made them, so I don't know exactly. But the market right now is saturated enough that it is pretty easy, usually, to be able to sell your pins and such. But it doesn't always mean it's going to work out. But being realistic and being honest with yourself and creating those realistic short-term and long-term goals is imperative, because if you don't have any goals, you're dead in the water. Like, specifically, my end goal is I would like to have a store front. Like I would actually like to have an actual store where people come in and they see me and they're like, "Hey, Ash, how's it going?" And they browse my wares and I have enough stuff that it does fill up a store. Right now it just fills up my basement. And be able to have people come to me rather than just me come to them. But I mean, it's realistic. I don't know if it's going to happen. It'd be real cool if it did, but it doesn't mean it will. But definitely keeping those goals in mind and working towards something and having everything written down is really, really important. So next, we're going to talk about our market. Like I said before, I have people anywhere from 4 years old to about 50 ordering my onesies, ordering plushies, Ita bags, makeup bags, and they search for me specifically because you need to make sure that you're upfront and honest, again, with yourself, but also with your customer. And you kind of have to look at everybody as a potential customer, especially if you're selling at conventions and you're creating these wares that you know are incredible, but other people might not know. Like, I can't tell you how many people don't seem to understand that my product, specifically my kigurumis, are made with really high quality, really expensive fleece. I hand make everything. I make the patterns. I make the designs. I have tags. I put pockets in them, which blows everybody's minds. I work really hard to have the best product. I'm not the only kigurumi maker out there, but I do like to boast that I'm one of the best. Especially because I can turn almost anything into a kigu. And that's something that you have to be really honest with. You need to, and you kind of have to be your own buff man, but you also have to be humble with it. You don't want to be like, I have the best products ever. You can't guarantee that. You can't guarantee that your stuff isn't or is the best, because there might be somebody who comes along that is better or does the same thing but different. You have to be humble with this. But knowing your market, you kind of need to, this is another thing that you should probably write down for yourself. Honestly, having a notebook that's just all your business stuff is really important and really necessary. I have several notebooks that I write in constantly about stuff that I need and stuff that I need to work on and stuff that I need to improve. But you kind of need to run through your head, especially when you're selling at conventions and such or selling online, is like, what do you want to make and why would people pay you for it? And you need to be honest with yourself. People want me to make kigus because they want to be comfy, especially in this day and age right now, what we're all going through with the quarantine and coronavirus. Everybody's at home, or not everybody, but most everybody's at home, and they want to be comfy. This is a really uncertain time, but even before that, you go home, you've had a really long day, go make yourself a cup of coffee or grab a soda, water, whatever you're drinking. You get in your kigu, or you take off your work pants, bras off, day is done, slide into your kigu, put your favorite anime, put your favorite movie on, and you're cozy. You don't need a blanket. You don't need a blanket. You don't need anything except for your onesie, and it's comfy and it's machine washable and it comes with pockets, like I said, and people pay me for that comfort. I provide comfort objects for people, and that's something not a lot of people do. And it's incredible. It's honestly very humbling work that I get the opportunity to create these things for people. These are one-of-a-kind works that not everybody has, that not everybody is going to have. And it makes me really happy that people choose me specifically to give them this comfort. And definitely, like, you don't want to only make one thing. I don't make one thing. I make kigurumis, I make plushies, I make Ita bags, I paint, I knit, I crochet. I do as much as I can in order to maintain cash flow, because I have rent, because I have a car payment, because I have a cat, because I eat. But definitely having not only one type of cash flow, especially within your business, because if people aren't going for your prints, which is also a very big thing in the vendors hall, not everybody's going to go with prints. You only have so much wall space, or if you're like my landlady, they only allow so much to be hung up. You need to definitely have a secondary source. I know that a lot of artists that I talk to do pins and prints, and they'll also do cute little like flower crowns, or they'll do like really cute jewelry or resin work. They don't just have one hustle in their box of hustle. They make sure that they, like, if one of their stock items doesn't do well for a convention, they need to make up for it with another. A lot of print artists will have buttons, and they'll have mini prints, and they'll have wall scrolls and body pillows, and it's just incredible to see all this work that they put into these, and maintaining that extra secondary product, or tertiary product, is really important, just in case. So you're not entirely sure where to start. Start getting your product out and seeing where it goes and stuff like that. So social media is a godsend. We live in an incredibly connected world. I can literally message any of my friends in the United States or abroad, and they can answer a moment later. And the same thing applies to creating your products and posting them on social media. And you definitely have to have fun with your job. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Like, I cannot stress that enough. I have so much fun creating. Even with the projects that I'm not nearly as excited about, I still have a lot of fun, and making sure that I have a sound mind when creating these things, because if I'm not at my best emotionally, I do not create well. You definitely need to make sure that you're posting consistently. I have Facebook, Instagram. I have a Twitter. I don't post on it very often. That's why I don't have a whole lot of Twitter sales. I have a Ko-fi. I have a TikTok, which I usually post my cosplays, but occasionally I will post kigurumi TikToks. I will post creating TikToks, which are really popular for some strange reason. Blows my mind that those always get like 1,000 or more views. And creating, like, I try to create TikToks with popular sounds. A friend of mine, Dragon Pixies, she makes incredible plushies and incredible D&D or D20 bags, and she always posts these videos of how she makes them, and it blows my mind every time. I could probably make the D20 bags, but like honestly, I would just rather pay her to do it because it looks difficult and it just the way that she makes it and the care and love that she puts into her work is incredible, and I want to give that to her. And along the same lines of consistent content, I try to post on my Facebook and on my Instagram once daily. I usually do it around 5 p.m. because that's when most folks are sitting down to have dinner, or like they're winding down from work and they're on their phone on Facebook just browsing before dinner, and my stuff will pop up. Hopefully. Facebook does hate a lot on small businesses and pages that do not pay for their posts to be boosted. And it's kind of the same thing with Instagram because Instagram is bought by Facebook. So you need to keep that in mind when you are making that, like when you're trying to make money with that, especially starting out. It took me about 3 or 4 years to get to 1,000 likes. And that was without paying for ads. And now I only pay for the ads of like my Kigu sales. I don't boost the posts of the Kigurumis that I have made. I only do it on my sale posts because those are the ones that are going to make me money. If you aren't going to be making money on the post, don't boost it. It's as simple as that. If it doesn't return revenue, don't put revenue into it. I do get a lot of people that do see those posts normally, but I also have a following of about 4,300 on Facebook. My Instagram isn't as big. I don't know why. I try really hard, but you definitely need to have those diverse range of platforms. Not everybody who's on Instagram has a Facebook. Not everybody who's on Facebook has a TikTok. If you only put all of your eggs in one basket, they're not going to hatch. I also have a website myself that I spent about a year putting together before I launched it, and I'm really proud of it. I do my very best that every time somebody's like, oh, where do I get this? I post my website. I don't just post my Facebook, I post my website. I try to get that traffic up, and you, depending on the website provider, you can pay to boost your website on Google search or whatever. I don't do that just because it seems weird to me, but that's just me. Definitely keeping up with what's popular. Like right now, My Hero Academia. Pokemon is always popular. So My Hero Academia, Overwatch. Right now, for some reason, there's a series called Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, something like that. I don't know. I'm not into it. I haven't watched it yet. Disney, Naruto, JoJo. I have a lot of manga, so I'm just looking. Definitely keeping up with what's popular, but also maintaining grasp on the classics. Like right now, especially with video games, Animal Crossing is really, really, really popular. I actually spent about 2 or 3 weeks drawing up all of the villager designs because I don't know exactly who is popular enough that they're going to sell, and I don't know who's not popular, but somebody's going to want them. Maintaining not a super tight grasp, but a grasp on what's popular, what might become popular, definitely listen to some of your friends who are really into like the underground animes. They're like, oh, this new anime came out and this is my favorite right now. And like a bunch of my friends really like Prison School. I'm in the middle of watching it because I don't have a whole lot of time to watch anime unless I'm working, especially if it's only subbed. So that's really popular amongst my friends at least. And definitely making sure that you kind of stay up to date. If you become out of date, you become redundant and you may get some sales, but you won't get nearly as many as if you stay on top. Like, so many people have been making Animal Crossing pins, and so many people have been making uh, Pokemon stuff. Like, everybody's into these things, and these are really popular right now. So you're going to make a lot of money right now, which you can put into creating future products. I specifically really enjoy seeing what people come to me to talk about with like what they would like as a kigurumi. I recently had somebody come up to me for Disgaea. I have had people come up to me for Naruto kigus. And it's just creating, it really helps to be open and communicate with your fan base and be like, hey guys, what are you into? What do you think that you'd be interested in seeing from me? Like, I ask that occasionally. I recently asked my followers, hey, what do you want to see as kigus? And I set a goal for myself, especially during quarantine, because there's so much that I can do. Setting that goal and being like, I'd like to have a new set of kigurumi designs every month that I can release for sale that people can get, and seeing how popular those get. And if they don't get popular, I only drew up the designs, and it's not a lot of time or effort that I have lost on these products. So moving on from social media, we're going to talk about follow through. This is really, really important, especially when making sure that your business comes from part-time to full-time, if that's what your goal is. Excuse me. You definitely need to make sure that you're looking and making sure that you're moving forward even just a little bit every day. If you're not moving forward, like I said before, you're dead in the water. If you as my partner says, if you're not moving forward, you're moving back. You're stagnating. And that cannot happen in business. So, definitely making sure that you're investing in equipment and resources to make the best outcome. Making sure that you're maintaining, like, especially if you're sewing and creating plushies and stuff like that, you need to make sure that your sewing machine isn't super crappy. It isn't going to break down constantly, because you're going to be paying more to fix it than you are going to be making money. I started off with a Brother, and that was a really good, like, $130 machine. That was really good for starting out, but it definitely became really difficult really fast for me to be making kigurumis. I can almost guarantee that the fleece that I use for my kigus cannot go through these sewing machines. It's too much strain. So after about 3 of those, I upgraded to a Singer, and then that Singer, apparently there was like some software issue. So it would have been almost twice as expensive to fix that as it would be to just buy a new one. So I bought, actually my friend Duo invested in my company, invested in my business, and he bought me my Husqvarna Viking Emerald 118. This machine has been a godsend. I haven't had to take it in to get it maintained. I've cleaned it and such, but I haven't had to take it into a shop to get it tuned up, which needs to happen soon, but unfortunately I can't do that just yet. Hopefully after quarantine I can go and I can get it tuned up and make sure that it's in great working shape. Investing in business cards and tags, custom bags, if you're making pins, making custom bags for your pins to come in, that really leaves a really good impression on your buyers. I don't have any like custom bags myself, but I do have a custom tag for my kigurumis. You can see right here, this has my logo, my name. It's made in the USA of imported materials, and then on the back it tells you that it's made out of 100% polyester and that you machine wash cold and tumble dry low, because I can't tell you how many people message me daily on how to maintain their kigu. So I just kind of cut out the middleman. I spent $30 on 100 tags, and those have been incredible. Definitely spending at least an hour every week looking for things that might be better for your business. Vistaprint is really good. It's a little expensive, but it's really, really good for creating signs for yourself. I made a banner for my kigus finally. I had a banner that had my logo, but nobody really knew what I was selling. So I made a banner, a retractable banner that has 8 kigus, and they're all Pokemon, of course. It has my social media, it has my name and my business, and it has those visual aids so that people are like, oh, that's what you sell. And there's not a whole lot of confusion. And that's good, because then I'm not spending precious time that could have been put towards sealing the sale, as it is explaining who I am and what my product is. Definitely perfecting your craft. You need to be working at it every day. I definitely, for about 5 years, I think it was 5 years, every day I was sewing. I was making something. I was making dice bags. I was making makeup bags. I was making a kigu. I was making something. I had to be making something. And if I wasn't doing that, I was reading cosplay books. I actually have a whole folder on my website, or on my not on my website, on my computer, that's just cosplay books, like foam craft. It's cosplay sewing. My favorite cosplayer that has a bunch of books. If you don't know her, I don't know how you don't know her. Her name is Kamali Cosplay, and she's a German cosplayer. Actually, I think she's Russian, but she lives in Germany. Her and Benny are incredible. I haven't met them in person because every time that I had the opportunity to, I started crying, and I was like, no, I can't do that, because she's my idol. Like, if I could be her, I would. Maybe one day I'll have a bunch of books of my own. I'll have a bunch of cosplay books. I'll have a bunch of sewing books. Right now I do have classes on my website, but that's neither here nor there. Definitely, again, one of my partner's quotes is, if you're not getting better every day, you're getting worse. That's not entirely true, but it's definitely something that you need to keep in mind. Definitely working every day to make yourself better, to learn a new stitch, learn a new technique on whatever you're making. Especially if you're making pins and such, you definitely need to be looking up YouTube tutorials and researching really good manufacturers, and a lot of pin makers that I have noticed won't give you who their manufacturer is, because it messes with their production time and it lowers the production quality, and I think that's a bunch of crap. But it's not my business. My business is creating kigus and selling knitting and crocheting tutorials and plushies and paintings and stuff like that. That's my business. I can't tell anybody else how to run theirs. I can only give advice. But definitely staying sharp and pushing yourself. And that also follows through with the posting consistently on your social media and making sure that your market is still engaged. Like I said, I try to post every day. And because what I usually do is I will make a couple of things during a day and I will post that ahead so that if something happens, like recently I got my wisdom teeth taken out, I had posts for while I was recovering because I couldn't do anything. They were like, no, you need to lay down. And I'm like, but I want to show. And my cheeks are like this big. Well, they weren't this big, but like they were huge. And I'm like, but I want to show. And my medicine's like, no, 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 you want to sleep. And I'm like, oh, well, definitely making sure that you stay on top of yourself and push yourself to become better and to become the best that you can be. Because like I said, there are other Kigu makers out there. I am not the best, but I am really heckin' trying. And definitely, even if you're not making a commission for somebody, just making something for yourself, that also helps mentally because you don't want to push yourself so hard that you have a mental break. I definitely have had what we like to call as artist burnout, where you don't want to create anything because you're so tired of making stuff. Definitely, if you have those, please, please, please take breaks for yourself. It's really important to stay sharp, but also it's important to take care of yourself. I can't tell you enough that your mental state is more important than making sure all of your orders are out. Bam, 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 bam. Like right now I have about 50 orders that I have to do and I'm running a panel instead. This is this is my self-care. Anyway, I believe that I have talked you guys' ears off long enough about creating your business. I really hope that this has created a pretty good avenue, a pretty good starting point for what you guys need to do. Definitely need to make sure that you're writing down your goals, writing down ideas for what you have, and make sure you write them down because if you're like me, you're not going to remember, and that's your own fault, and you have nobody to blame but yourself. But if you write them down, you have physical proof. Paper trails are everything. Making sure that you research what you need and the tools you need in order to create your perfect product, and that falls in line with like taxes and stuff like that, especially if you're making it a full hustle and you make more than $400 a year. You got to pay taxes, buddy. And usually with that, you got to pay like 4 times, at least in the US, you have to pay 4 times a year for taxes with that, and you don't get anything back, and it sucks. But that's neither here nor there. That's a whole other thing that I'm not an expert in. You definitely need to research that for yourself. So otherwise you guys can contact me on, because this is a recorded panel, you can contact me via the Discord during this. You can contact me afterwards via my email. It's seiferstitches@hotmail.com. SeiferStitches@hotmail. If you don't put all those S's and all those T's, it's not going to get to me. I'm not going to be able to read it. You can also message me on Facebook, which is also Seifer Stitches, but it's 2 words. My Instagram, which is Seifer Noir, SEIFERNOIR, and on TikTok, which is also the same tag. Definitely, you can always come to me later for questions, or you can come up with emails. I will do my very best to answer your questions. I'll do my very best to answer them as wholly as I can. I'm a lot more organized on paper or via email than I am like this. But definitely make sure that you do the research for yourself, for what you can do, what I can't answer. Definitely looking up books, blogs, um, and programs that'll work for you, especially if you're making pins or pillows, plushies, stuff like that, prints. Because unfortunately, like I said, I don't have all the answers, and what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you. But I wish you all the very best in uh, making these artworks that you guys are. Your work is incredible. It is amazing. Your work is worthy of being bought if you're trying to sell it. So I hope that I hope that this has helped you, and I am here if you need me.